everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the fourth day of our International Faculty Development Program on Human Engineering for Psychological Well-being. Today, we are excited to explore the theme of conflict resolution and mediation with Ms. Joyce Meshach. I hope that you're all very refreshed after yesterday's session on 3Ps, practicing positive psychology. To start our session on a positive note, let's take a moment for a short prayer. Dear God, thank you for bringing us together today. Guide our thoughts, words, and actions as we learn and grow. Bless us with wisdom, patience, and unity in all we do. May we leave here enriched and ready to serve others. Thank you. I request every participant to please enable your cameras for a brief photo session. Now over to the technical team.
Good evening, dear participants. We request you all to please appear on screen. Happy to see you all smiling. Thank you. Keep on smiling for a minute or two. We are very happy to see you virtually, even after your regular routine. You look so enthusiastic. We are glad about the same. The first frame has been taken. Kindly wait until all the frames are taken. Keep on smiling. We request other participants who are interested in appearing on camera. You're most welcome. At the same time, we respect your privacy. Thank you, dear participants. Over to the MC.
I'm pleased to invite Dr. Gabriel Richard Roy to introduce our esteemed resource person for today.
It is an honor to welcome Ms. Joyce Meshach, a distinguished nursing professional and the Associate Dean of Nursing at PS University. With a career spanning education, leadership, and healthcare, she has demonstrated exceptional leadership in overseeing nursing programs and guiding curriculum development to meet industry's highest standards. Her vast experience includes teaching, faculty development, and accreditation, fostering an inclusive learning environment. She has also played a key role in managing student affairs and regulatory compliance. Prior to PES, Ms. Joyce has held significant roles at St. John's College of Nursing in major health projects, contributing to clinical supervision, research, and community health initiatives, including HIV/AIDS and tuberculosis control programs. Her commitment to developing the next generation of healthcare professionals is truly commendable. We are thrilled to have her with us today, and we look forward to her insights. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was indeed a very good, a very long welcome. Thank you so much. Right. Hello, good evening, everyone. Some of you can unmute and, respond and say something.
Ma'am, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening and welcome.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, that keeps me motivated.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, and it's very nice to see all of you. I can see almost about 100 participants who are in this workshop. So I do understand, I understand the real, from 4 days you've been going through this FDP, right? All of you. So this is the fourth session that you all are sitting after a day's work, a hard day's work. I think all of you all are here. So I wouldn't take much time. So my topic is something which I think all of us do face it day in and day out. Maybe it's not explicitly said, but as psychology faculty, I think you understand better when we talk about the word conflict. So today I'm here to talk to you all with regard to conflict management and basically resolution and how we can mediate. So what do you all think when I say the word conflict? Can you all tell me what are the different thoughts that come into your mind?
Ma'am, dissent of opinion.
Right.
Disagreement.
Yes. Okay.
There are two parties involved.
Yes, there are definitely two parties involved. Okay.
and different thoughts.
Yes, the thought process is completely different. Each individual's thought process works differently. All right. Anything more?
Some level of unpleasantness. I mean, unpleasant.
True. Some, some level of unpleasant feeling that happens. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Disagreement.
Okay. Disagreement. So I think the class is done. All of you know what conflict is. All right. So we'll begin with a small thing about what is a conflict basically. Fine. So usually a conflict arises when two individuals or groups have opposing interests or viewpoints. That's what we just now discussed, and it can occur at various levels. It can be intrapersonal, interpersonal, group, or organizational. So I would like to take little time on talking about intrapersonal. So most of the time, every day, intrapersonal, that is, you do a self-talking. So every day in every situation, we actually have a conflict with ourselves many a times, right? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it does happen. So intrapersonal conflicts are something which our mind by itself resolves and moves on. It does affect our mental status too, but then we have gotten to the habit of coming in terms with our mind and then going forward. So intrapersonal conflicts do happen every day regularly. And when we talk about interpersonal, it could be between two people, two groups, individual differences. It can happen. So these are some things which we see day to day life. So if at all we need to understand what a conflict is, first of all, we need to understand what a psychological process happens through all of us. So what is psychological process? Psychological process is basically just a mental activity. So if you call, mental activity, what are some of the mental activities that we do every day? Can any of you just say a few of them?
Thinking.
Right, thinking. Yes.
Planning,
Yes, planning.
directing,
Prioritizing, right? So some of these psychological processes, if you say, it goes in 2-3 examples. So some of the examples that I would like to give you, the first psychological process is basically elaboration and acquisition. So when we say elaboration, so we do understand there is some thought in our mind, okay, and that thought has been built up. So basically, when we talk about these psychological processes, we build our psychology from the time the baby is intranatally born. So I would like to take you all back to a little bit of biology. So when a mother actually gets pregnant, so when we say pregnant, at the 8th week, the heartbeat starts. Okay, but let me tell you, prior to that, most of the organs would have already developed for the baby. So basically, the kind of psychology that the mother goes through, the kind of thoughts that the mother goes through, I think most of you would have heard, pregnant mothers, they should not get angry, they should read good books, they should listen to good music, right? We keep giving these examples, which is very true, because some of the processes that happen intranatally do affect the mind of the child which is growing. Okay, so as the child keeps growing, once it's delivered, even the first environment affects its psychological process. So every step of life, there is a lot of psychology which is involved. So when we talk about the word psychology, it's basically the mind. So how mind develops, I think as psychology faculty, all of you all are very familiar with Sigmund Freud's theories. So a lot of theories Sigmund Freud has put forward with respect to ID, ego, and superego. So during the childhood times, usually this psychological process is such that the child tries to find its identity. So that's the stage. I think all of you know this theory, right? Sigmund Freud's theory. Yes.
Psychoanalytic theory, madam.
Psychoanalytic theory, yes. Sigmund Freud's theory.
Yes, madam. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, most of us are familiar, especially as psychology faculty. And psychology, the first thing is we study those studies, psychoanalytic, psychosexual, psycho-emotional. So those are the basic theories that we actually go through. Right. So this psychological process plays such an important role from the time the child is conceived up to the stage that we are right now. So basically, it's about what are the thoughts that I have actually inculcated, and I in every stage of life elaborate it and kind of fit into it, that kind of I acquire it and fit into it during that particular situation. Then the second thing which happens is also with regard to memory. Not always do we remember everything that happens, but we do have something called as memory. So when your psychological process usually goes through a kind of shaping, and there is always some amount of memory about situations, about things that have happened, about people that you have met. It could be your childhood friend, but even after 20-25 years, we do remember them, at least some mannerisms or some talks or some dialogues that have happened between them, we do remember. So these are all some of the psychological process that develops, and at the same time we try to build a connection between the mind and the heart. So if you all know, our brain is composed of different parts. Like we have the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and we know that cerebrum is supposed to be the thinking part of the brain. So just to give you all an example, it seems after Albert Einstein died, they took his brain to understand why he's so much more, very much, he had that kind of a brain, lot of scientific things that he did. So they did find lot of gray matter more than a normal person than him. So that was his intelligence quotient. The intelligent part of the brain had more waves than any other normal person. So some of the things that I want to tell you all is, not only with memory, the psychological process help us to develop our emotions also, our feelings also, our thoughts processes also. So the situation that we are actually put in builds our emotions. Basically, it could be anger, frustration, happiness, sadness, whatever be it. So most of the emotions are built from intranatal period. So that is why we say, the mother should be a very happy mother when she actually conceives. So this psychology of the baby as it grows has a kind of impact, and how they actually handle the emotions. Now I do want to touch upon the fact that some of the genes also affect us. So there are some genes, they may say your father also was a very short tempered guy, and so you are also a short tempered guy. Yes, some traits to a certain extent do come on with the genes. Some traits are there, but then again those traits can also be modified with proper proper education or proper channeling. The emotions can be actually managed well. And here we also see cognitive biases affect the decision making. Now, when I say cognitive biases, what are these cognitive biases? It is, I know that this kind of thinking is right, but what am I doing? I am biasing it. I am not agreeing with my own self because of some of the things that have happened. That's where intrapersonal conflict actually starts, because of our cognitive biases, because our cognitive thinking, our cognitive capacity to look into things, to sort out things, has already been set. Once you reach an adult period, because of the experience that you have had in your life up to this stage, will tell you what exactly is right and wrong. But sometimes you do not want to agree with what your mind is telling you. Does that happen with you anytime? So this is sometimes that happens, that cognitive biases, we ourselves do not agree with some of the things that we usually do. Right? Do you all agree with me?
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
we'll just talk a little bit about the different types of conflict, which I already mentioned to you all. So one is intrapersonal, interpersonal, intergroup, and organizational, right? So can you give me examples of an intergroup conflict that happens? Any examples?
May I, ma'am?
Yes, definitely. Please go ahead.
Say for example, we are having a board meeting in an organization, and
Okay.
the cost cutting has to be done, which is decided in the meeting,
Yes.
and the HR department doesn't want to take that step for their department, and they're asking the finance department to do so, while the finance department feels that it will be very, very putting down the morale of their employees if it is done on their part. So this could be an intergroup or a problem conflict between the two departments at organizational level.
Yes, definitely. It's a very good example that you have given. So before the group gets into a conflict, okay, we'll move on to that later. So because of these kind of conflicts, what do you think can actually goes through that individual? So that individual can go through an emotional impact. That is, he may be stressed. Okay, he may be very anxious and showing all kind of dysregulation, all emotional dysregulation. Sometimes, some angry people, they want to throw away things, or some of them can just sit quietly, some of them can burst out, some of them can shout. So there is a lot of emotional impact that happens, right? At the same time, there is also cognitive impact. So when you are actually stressed, you cannot think properly. So you may be wondering, I don't think that person would actually speak that way. Maybe that situation, or maybe that the problem brought him to think like that. He's not somebody like that, right? We do talk about people like that. So what happens is our cognitive level gets distorted, and making decisions become a challenge. And also a behavioral impact. So when we say behavioral impact, aggression, not everybody who goes through a conflict will show you aggression, right? Few of them show aggression. Few of them try to withdraw themselves from that particular place or that conflict, and few of them avoid it. So how many of us belong to the aggression character here? Any short-tempered men and women in my session? Right? Can I see some hands going up? I mean, there is
Me, absolutely me.
Okay. Can I know your name, madam? Can you just introduce yourself to me, please?
Okay, I'm Tanya Marshon from Department of Psychology from Goa.
All right. Okay.
Okay, from Department of Psychology.
Psychology. Okay. So can you
Yeah.
imagine a psychology faculty, Madam Tanya, showing aggression? Is that accepted? Right. All of us are human. Yeah. So that's what I said. So
Ma'am, ma'am, I have a question, ma'am.
Yes.
Can there be situation when we get aggressive, the other moments we are not? I mean, can there be a mixed personality kind of a thing?
At that particular situation, it depends. See, if you are somebody into the whole thing and your personality is such that you are basically a person with a lot of aggression, definitely you will show that. You cannot have mixed personality. It depends upon the situation that you're in, basically. If you wish, so if you wish to seclude yourself from that, if you wish to withdraw, definitely you will not speak anything. It cannot be both the things at the same time. Same emotions cannot flow at the same time. Either you're very upset with things that are happening, or you want to take a back step, not wanting to involve in that particular thing, whatever is happening. So either
can silence be a way of aggression? I mean, if I
yes,
get silent.
definitely. Silence speaks a lot, madam. I guess there are lots of sayings with regard. So are you a very quiet person who doesn't like to talk anything much when you're upset?
Yes.
Okay. Some of us have those characteristics. Some of us are like that. So I'll give an example of my mother-in-law. I've lost
many
her.
experience at home also.
Yes, these things can happen at home. Right, sir? Sir, does that happen with your family, with your wife or children? They don't talk to you?
But they don't talk to me in the sense, I also don't talk.
Okay.
It depends, who's aggressive at that point of time.
Right. Yeah. So when we come to mediation, we'll come to the place where who becomes quiet and who is more aggressive, right? So most of the time there is a psychological impact. What I'm trying to say here is our mind is disturbed. Now, how I react to that disturbance is this emotional impact.
I'm
right?
sorry to disturb. I have
Yes.
a question here.
Yes,
When you
ma'am.
talk about emotions, conflict, and other things, there are few people whom I have come across. Irrespective of the way you talk to them, you scold them, they will never ever have any reaction on their face. They will be as quiet, cool, calm, composed as possible.
Yes.
However much I give my attention and shout, they'll be very quiet. Is it related to psychology, or they have tuned their mind in such a way that they don't want to react to others?
It's basically they have
This happens with
actually.
the students especially.
Yeah. No, this is with reference to students. Okay, let me tell you that students currently, the present generation students that we are dealing with is very, very difficult generation, because they don't, kind of listen to what we exactly want to tell them, because they don't feel the seriousness of education or the importance of a teacher. Now, I'll tell you the reason why this happens is when we studied in schools and colleges, the utmost respect was given to our teacher. A single scolding or a small warning from our teacher, our parents used to make it a big hue and cry. Yes or no? So if at all my father has to attend a parent teacher meeting, my goodness, that whole night I wouldn't sleep. So, when I'm wanting to know what my teacher would tell my father and what things would go wrong with me, and எவ்வளவு அடி வாங்கணுமோ தெரியாது எனக்கு அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு, that is what goes on our mind. But right now, the children are not into that kind of an thing, because sometimes we feel we as parents somewhere we have failed to instill the importance of teachers and educators into our children, actually speaking. So நீங்க என்ன சொன்னாலும், now there is a rule that you cannot hit the child. There are lots of legalities coming into where we cannot punish or we cannot correct the children in the way that we were corrected. They are mentally disturbed in solranga. They they are they get depressed அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க. So these are all some new things which our children are exposed to. Sometimes what
Excuse me, ma'am.
Experiencing, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Not exposed. They are experienced.
Yes.
The stress, aggression, and these things are, they are expressing whatever. I mean, they are experiencing that. It's not that, they are said. It is all.
Yes, sir. So I would like to take you back to their childhood and to their upbringing, sir, basically. So sometimes what happens, because of distorted families, they have not been given that attention that the child actually needs. So when there is a lack of attention, so you see, as they grow up to their teenage, when they come, they get attention only through their friends. Back home, parents are working 12 hours, 14 hours. It's only the servant who's there with them, who feed them, and who take care of them. So there is no much of emotional connect between the parents and the children. So these could be some of the reason as to why our children are not able to control their emotions. If you say in an angry situation, can you ever imagine all of us shouting back at our parents? No, it can never happen. But nowadays it does happen, because and parents take it also because they feel guilty that they are not able to spend time with their children. So some of the situations and these worldly things, materialistic things, have actually taken off the emotional connect that we need to have with our children. So as they grow, this is how their emotions are unable to be managed. So to a certain age when it comes. Anything else? Any other question?
Good evening, ma'am.
Solunga, ma'am. Yes, good evening. Tell me.
This is Jumana.
Yes.
Ma'am, why do you think people don't like to read their minds?
Who doesn't like to read their minds? I didn't get you.
No, ma'am. Take, for example, there is a person or a group of people. அவங்களோட மைண்ட் வந்து அவங்க தெரிஞ்சுக்க கூடாது அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு அவங்களோட மைண்ட் வந்து கன்சீல் பண்ணிடுவாங்க. ஏன் அப்படி பண்றாங்கன்னு
because it is a feeling of insecurity ma. இப்போ என்னோட மைண்ட் உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சிச்சுனா, will you accept me the way I am?
That is what I am asking, ma'am. Why not?
That is what I am telling, because on the attention வந்து நீங்க you do the problem is what I am today, what I am projecting to you today, in real life I may not be that. So என்னோட உண்மையை நீங்க தெரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டு, if you are going to kind of judge me on those lines, I don't like it. So I don't want to be judged. Yes.
Ma'am, pardon me. Ma'am, I don't understand Tamil.
So your voice is breaking. I'm not able to hear you.
I don't understand Tamil.
He is not used to
okay, you don't understand Tamil. Sorry, I am extremely sorry. Now what I'm trying to tell you is, they don't like to expose their inner self. The reason being, like I said, I may portray myself as a very strong personality outside, but actually speaking, I am not so strong. I may be a little weak on the inside. So I don't like anybody to know my weaknesses. If I know my weaknesses, I may be judged, and nobody likes to be judged. So this could be some of the reason why they don't expose themselves, or they don't want us to read their minds. because if you read their mind, maybe you may judge me and tell me I'm not right, and I don't like to be judged. And especially in the teenage area, I mean ages where students come like that, because up there you will see children portray a different behavior. Okay, they want to be as a leader, they have gangs ganging up together, there is a leader, there is a follower, they have a slang. But actually speaking, when you want to really read their minds, those children are really not rogues. We really need to get into their minds to understand why they behave like that. So all this is actually connected to their childhood, and to their upbringing, to the environment that they have been brought up, to the situations that they are exposed to. All this forms their personality and the psychology of their mind.
But ma'am, everyone goes through these things. Not
Yes.
like only that person.
Yes.
Why don't that person feel very
Everybody
insecure,
goes through,
vulnerable?
but everybody goes
We are
through
not
this.
going to do anything, right? And the
You are not going to do
judgment,
anything, but I am scared that you will judge me. If at all you judge me as a teacher and you stereotype and tell me that, she is like this, Joyce is a scary poke, and I don't want to get that. So,
Ma'am, sorry for interruption. Sorry for
Yes.
interruption.
Yes.
Might be it is the cause that today's generation are not at all accepting the criticism. They don't want to criticize themselves.
Yes. So this again goes back to childhood, madam. When we say criticism, all of us in our ages, we had 3-4 brothers and sisters. Right now, if you see, there's only a single child concept. In the last few decades, though, there are not many children in the family. So what happens is parents most of the time do not give criticism. Children are all the time accepted and praised for whatever little thing they do. So what happens is, at this home is my comfortable environment, and the situation that you give me at home makes me feel very good. So even when I go out, I don't like to be criticized, because I've never been in a situation where my parents have told me I'm bad.
Right.
So what happens, I cannot accept somebody else. When my parents don't feel that I am not bad, who are you to tell me that I am bad? See, this is this is how our children think nowadays.
Very true, very true.
Yeah, so they don't like to accept criticism. It's impossible. The first thing whenever you see gang wars and fights like that, "Enga appave appdi sollala, enga ammave appdi sollala, who are you to question me? Who are you to ask me?" That's how they ask. But if you ask our parents, there has not been a day where they have even they would have even beaten us also. But those things cannot be expected out of our children right now, this generation. That's the issue. So our minds.
Another question is,
yes.
Why do you think anxiety comes in, ma'am? Why are people have that anxiety issues nowadays?
Yeah, anxiety issues because I don't know what is happening next. So and the situation again it dates back to childhood only, where they have been very anxious. See, there are two ways of parenting. One can be a very strict parenting, and one can be a kind of in the laissez-faire kind of a leadership kind of a parenting that they do. So when you do a kind of a very strict parenting, உங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப பயம், என்ன சொல்லுவாங்க, when will I get a beating, what can be the consequences அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு I keep lot of planning. To a certain extent that I plan 10 years, even on the situation to what extent it can go. I can think of the worst thing that can happen to me. So on the anxious state life children are brought up, and even if parents exhibit anxiety, sometimes what happens, parents talk to children about, I don't know what your appa is going to say, I don't know what my boss is going to tell me, I'm so worried, I'm not able to eat, I'm not able to drink, my office, I don't know tomorrow what is going to be the decision. So when you keep communicating anxiety also to the child also in the heart becomes very anxious, on the mind becomes very anxious. So when a situation is given to this kind of a child, the child also learns to become anxious, because your mind
the corrective measure will be and the corrective measure will be
the corrective measure will be teach them how to handle and speak out their anxieties. They have to tell why are they getting scared, what is it that is making them, what is it that they are thinking to the maximum. Enna agum or homework submit pannalana enna agum, is your teacher going to beat you up, is she going to call your parent, is she going to send a notice, are you going to be suspended, what are the different, you need to kind of list down what are some of the suggestions or what are some of the solutions to the problem and prepare them for all that.
Okay, so building a positive mind and having self-confidence will be the cure.
Having self-confidence self-confidence only comes when they're able to solve their solutions. So நீங்க முதல்ல வந்து you need to give them a list of solutions and try to understand from where that anxiety is actually coming.
Okay, ma'am.
So once you
And
give them the solution and I feel confident, Amma, what madam is telling right, the ultimate problem answer to this problem is இதுதான் அப்படின்னு சொல்லும்போது I become confident.
Ma'am,
okay,
I
ma'am.
have one clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
In the workplace, specifically in the workplace, there was a time many years back, and I mean when our grandparents, it was a negative motivation. When they say it is not done, we will take lot of efforts to get very good, okay, nice. Now,
Amma.
it's irrespective of the now it is all positive more. Even if you keep a dot, we have to appreciate. Wow, it is so nice. That generation has totally changed. But
Yes.
when we know in the workplace, repeatedly when you get negative criticism,
yes,
n number of times you get negative criticism, how do we manage that?
Negative criticism.
See, to an extent we can take, okay, this is for my good, instead of questioning, understanding the what and why question, maybe you can able to come out of the criticism. But we are all at the end of the day, we are all human beings, no? So
True.
repeated
So what
negative
I'm trying to say
criticism.
tell you is the person who's criticizing you must be going through a bad patch. So இன்னைக்கு they may criticize you, tomorrow you can definitely get back to that person and ask him an open question as to why it was treated like that. We must have an open communication, because criticisms will go on and go on and go on, because the time that they criticize you is not the right time, because that's where your conflict starts, your fight starts, and your negative thinking starts. You have to remain quiet during that negative criticism, because we don't know the opposite party what he's going through,
Okay.
why
But
he
if
has
the
told you
criticism
that.
is given by the boss and the very next minute or the very next day, the boss becomes so cool, calm, composed, as if nothing has happened.
That is the nature of the bosses are supposed to be like that. So that is also a way to assess my employee whether she is able to accept criticism.
Okay.
But in your conversation you can slowly mention to him, sir, I was hurt a little with yesterday's conversation, I'll definitely correct myself with what you said, sir. You can put a word to him.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You can definitely, it's all about communication, madam. When you have an open communication, marabadiyo, and the open communication should not be a very assertive and a very firm communication. It should go like a request. It should be like a kind of, pleasing, because they are our bosses. You cannot go with a very assertive thing and say, no, sir, what you did was wrong. No, we cannot do that, because at the end of the day, they pay us. We are very much obliging. We have to oblige to what they say.
True.
So your open communication with him, and if he has bounced back to normal, somewhere in your conversation, you must say, yes, sir, I was hurt a little, but definitely will take your correction, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll tell you
Ma'am,
my example.
just a clarification. Just wanted to know regarding this criticism.
Yes, ma'am.
Earlier, I used to just listen and maybe confront the person. But now I look at the value of the person. It can be a boss or he can be anything. Okay. And I
Right.
see whether the boss is giving you a criticism just for the sake of it, or it's your real problem. Sometimes it is just a ego problem, or it could also be their own personal issues. So if I
Yes.
feel that the person concerned, whoever, boss or whoever, is unreasonable, I just don't bother about the criticism. I
True,
just
very
listen to
true.
it.
But
And
if you are, that
I
means
don't
you're a very smart person who's able to read your opposite
Yes.
person's mind.
Yes,
See,
yes.
not all of us are like that. So let me tell
Yeah.
you that not all of us can do that. Okay, so if you take a youngster who's just joined your organization, I don't think she will be able to read the boss's mind. So over the years, when you have that experience of understanding why my boss would criticize, till then I will not be comfortable.
Correct. I think
Correct.
it's maturity which
It's
gives
yeah.
the
So
idea.
yeah, I'll give you an example. I head about currently, I got introduced as the PS College University Dean, but I have quit that place and now I work as a nursing director in Vaidehi Hospital, and I have about 500 nurses with me plus another 200 odd staff working with me. So
Yeah.
I am a kind of a Hitler. I should be saying this because people find me very rude. People find me, my correction is very harsh. But you know where I win the hearts of my people? I'm not partial.
Correct.
For my 400 staff, I am not partial, and I scold them, and the next minute I am calling them and I'm doing normal work. So this is what I said. No, so now for about 2 months, I found it very difficult to make them understand my style of work. So basically, we need to understand as employees, what is your boss's style of work? So then I had to have a meeting and tell them, I don't carry it back with me. It's all left and done and dusted. It's all finished in the hospital. There is no personal conflict. There is no personal intent of shouting at you all. It is for the benefit of the organization. So now they have realized it so much after about 6 months now. So my working style has become very, very convenient. But I have also learned lessons that all the 400 are not the same.
Correct. That's true.
Right? So this is how I need to change myself as a leader to manage. So if you see, I have people who are older than me working in the organization, people who have just joined, people who are of my age. So I really need to understand their minds and read their minds and basically get my work done. End of day, I need my work to be done. So it took time, it takes time. So same way here, conflicts also, what happens is basically when we don't understand the opposite person's mind, when we don't have the maturity, this is what happens.
Correct.
We get into negative mode. So I think that negative mode at a faculty level, with your experience, we should try to understand, like you said, the opposite person's mind and psychology. And the best advice I would give you is, whenever you're getting a negative criticism, please stay quiet and move away from that place. That's not the situation to actually fight or talk or justify yourself. That's what I have learned with these 400 of them when I'm in my workplace, that the minute I try to justify myself very assertively, things don't work out. It works out, in a very bad shape. It takes a very bad shape and it becomes too personal. So we need to just
Ma'am,
Yes, tell me, ma.
Ma'am, what psychology says about conviction?
Conviction is only when you feel it. See, psychology doesn't talk about the word conviction as such. What I want to tell you here is, these are all the traits and feelings that you have developed from the beginning. So if you are taught to know, understand your fault, you will have that conviction. If you are always been on the offensive mode and say, I am always correct, the conviction will not come to you. So it depends upon it depends upon the exposure and the experience that you have gone through, and how your value system is built. So I'll tell you, being y'all are a Christian college, St. Joseph's as a Christian college. Most of us, Nambaloda, what do you say? Our sins, unless we get convicted and ask for forgiveness, it's not going to work out with Jesus, right? That's what we say. So when do we get convicted? That is when we understand what we are doing is wrong. So when does that come to me? Unless somebody tells me that I'm wrong, or during my experience in my whole life, in my childhood or in my youth, anybody, they have mentioned to me that I'm doing something wrong, and then only I will get the conviction. So probably I would have heard a lot of preachings, I would have heard a lot of talks from different people where I feel, what I did was wrong. So that's where I get conviction from. So it's all about how you actually train your mind and build your mind all these years of your life, and in what environment and situation that you are in, basically.
Okay, ma'am.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more doubts?
Ma'am, I have two things to say
Yes,
regarding asking the boss why. Okay. So it can be, you can, as you said, you can go to when he is in a good mood or the following day.
Yes.
Can say, can you suggest me? So you have mentioned to me this. How can I correct this? You can ask, put the words from you can hear the words from him.
Yes.
So which will help in a great manner. See, that happens very often it used to happen during my working days.
Okay.
So I'll always go and ask, how do you want me to improve? How I can, how this situation can be made better. So I always ask that. So instead of asking why did you say that, if you you change the word, instead of why, if you put how, that will help you in a great level.
Yes.
So second thing about a second thing, you are talking about the children, they are not accepting the conflicts. It is, it is also the expectations of the parents, because, as you said, we don't talk back to our parents. We don't, when the teachers punish us, we just they give imposition. So I used to write 1,000 times and all I have written. Okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they also know my father. They come and complain, this guy was very mischievous in the class. So my father gives me a rap. I used to take it. But
Yes.
but what happens, since we were brought up like that, we
Yes.
also expect the same thing from our children.
Yes.
So the things have changed.
Yes.
It is the 20-25 years of change.
Yes.
The time change, it
Yes.
matter a lot. So
Yes.
we as a parent, we have to learn, and they are also exposed to the various media.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
So even as parent, we have to change a lot. Okay. And
Not
even
only that
teacher,
part of it, sir. If you go back to the days that we lived in joint families. So when we lived in joint families, our children
exactly,
used to interact
exactly
with lot of uncles and aunts. So even if
that
there
is
is
what
a
I'm
slap from the uncle and aunt, I would just take it and just say nothing to them and walk away. Now, can you just imagine our children getting beaten up by their own uncle and aunts? Is it possible? We can't even imagine that.
correct. So what I'm saying that we there is a huge level of parenting corrections
Yes.
are needed.
Yes.
That
Yes,
is what
definitely.
I want to make a point.
Yes, yes. Yes, sir. So that is what I am trying to tell you all. When you all deal with students, please do understand the background that the children come from, especially with distorted families or families who are, single parent families, and and they've only been a single child family. So these kind of things actually have a lot of impact on the children, and that is why you see different kind of behaviors when they are in groups, when they are in college or when they are in their school. So we need to really get into the child's mind to understand to what exactly happens. So it's very important. I mean, I don't know if your college does it. Do you have a parent teacher meeting even at the college level?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Oh,
madam.
yeah, parents come and meet you all.
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
Yeah,
ma'am.
so there has been many a times I feel, after talking to the parent, you will be able to connect why the child behaved like that with you or why that student was like that with you. So it's, very easy to connect at that time. So it's always better to have interaction with the parents just to understand their, the student's mind. So I would definitely suggest, on and off this parent teacher meetings, which will really help for us to understand the child's mind.
Ma'am, is it true like it takes 21 days to build a habit and 3 months to adapt to something new? Is it true?
Yes. Yeah, that happens with adult, not with children. With adult, it definitely takes about 21 days to learn the habit. Now, again, when you say learning the habit, Noma, it's all in the mind. It's the mind game. Even after 21 days, if I decide I don't want to do it, I don't need to do it.
Okay,
It
ma'am.
doesn't come as a habit. If one simple example of brushing teeth, right? From years together, you have been doing brushing your teeth as soon as you get up. From year one, from 1 year onwards, yes, from the time we get our tooth, whatever, right? We keep brushing.
Yes, ma'am.
But one day, if I decide I don't want to brush my teeth, can anybody force you to brush your teeth?
No,
It's a
ma'am.
habit. It's a habit that has developed for almost 43 years, 45 years for me. But I still can have the choice not to brush,
Okay.
right?
What is the
So,
difference between behavioral science and cognitive psychology, ma'am? Are they
right.
branches?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Participants, probably we can let Joyce, continue with the presentation. Maybe towards the end, we can take up the interventions.
Sure, sir.
Look,
Sorry,
yeah.
sir.
Right, sir. Thank you so much.
All
That's
right,
fine.
all right.
Right. Okay. So we will just move forward. So what are these conflict resolution? I want to tell you all few cognitive behavioral strategies. So some of the cognitive behavioral strategies that I actually want you all to go through is it's also called as CBT. As psychology faculty, have you all learnt about CBT? Yes.
Of
I think,
course.
yeah, this is something very natural that comes in the subject of psychology. CBT is one we adapt in our, even in our hospital setup for psychiatric patients, we do a lot of CBT courses. It's called cognitive behavioral strategies. Just now, I think one faculty asked me what is the difference between cognitive sciences and behavioral sciences. Madam, we are coming to it now, right?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. That's me.
Yeah. Yes. So when we talk about cognitive sciences, basically cognitive thinking skills, it's about your mental activity, right? Cognitive completely involves the mental activity, and with that mental activity, how you behave, okay, that becomes a behavioral strategy. So here there are few steps of CBT. So first of all, it is basically cognitive restructuring. So when we say cognitive restructuring, whenever you find a person going through a conflict, there are a lot of emotions that flows through them, so we need to actually restructure that thinking process. So why does those emotions flow through them is because cognitively they are thinking something different, so we need to restructure them. Okay, when I say restructure them, the aggression, the thinking ability or the thinking capacity of anger is there as a cognitive part of it, and the way they express their anger becomes a behavioral strategy. Am I clear, madam? Madam, are you able to get me when I'm trying to tell you the difference between cognitive strategies and behavioral strategies?
No, ma'am. Can you repeat, please?
Okay, cognitive things are something that happens completely in the brain. It's a mental activity. Okay,
Okay.
so mental activity in Solabudhu, what are my mental activities? My mental activities: thinking, perceiving, understanding, adapting, okay, acknowledging. Idella vande ennoda mental activity which is going on inside. So when I am
Okay,
going
ma'am.
through the conflict, என்னோட cognitive ability is getting hampered. Hampered in சொல்லும்போது, I am not thinking straight. I am not adapting straight. I am not understanding straight.
Okay,
Right?
ma'am.
Now, because of that, you show a behavior. Right? And the conflict
Yeah.
kaga, the first behavior that you show is anger. உங்க மைண்ட்ல anger வந்துச்சு. So that's a cognitive part, and you are showing it by shouting. That is your behavioral part.
Okay, ma'am.
Right?
Yeah,
Now,
I get
when
it.
this
Yeah.
person goes through the conflict, what should I do? I must restructure their conflict. I must restructure their cognitive thinking.
Okay, ma'am.
புரிஞ்சுச்சுங்களா? So
Yeah,
when I'm
புரிஞ்சுச்சு.
going through a conflict, so if you come to me for CBT therapy, I need to completely modify your cognitive thinking and your behavioral thinking.
Okay, ma'am.
Right? Okay. So how do I restructure your behavioral and your cognitive thinking? So that is the first step we do in CBT, basically. So அது வந்து how we do it is, cognitive ன்னு வரும்போது, my cognitive mental activity is formed on the values that I have been brought up with. Yes,
Okay.
are you able to get me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
When I say
by saying anger or angry, you mean to say impulsive and being impulsive also?
yes, being impulsive, your mind told you to become impulsive. Adoda impact, you threw something or you shouted at somebody. And
Okay.
you have come to me for that conflict resolution. So now what am I supposed to do is, I'm supposed to restructure or completely change your thinking process so that your behavior also changes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so as
I
a
get it. Yeah.
therapist, நான் எப்படி வந்து உங்களோட conflicts, how am I going to change it? First of all, I must understand what is your value system. And I must give you clarification for your values. Why you had a conflicting situation is your inbuilt value system was questioned. Your inbuilt value system was shaken.
Okay, ma'am.
Right? புரிஞ்சுச்சா? Are you able to understand what I'm
Yes,
trying to
ma'am.
say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there is a situation in your value system, it says it is right. Okay, so on the right one, this somebody is trying to prove it wrong, and that's why you're getting upset.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so they have brought me to you to give you that therapy to make, first of all, I understand that ungaloda value system, it is saying it's right. So I need to understand that and clarify with you and tell you, no, this is the clarification. 1, 2, 3, 4 points will tell you that what you are thinking about your value is little wrong, madam. Abdin solite, I have to take you through that and change your behavior to that conflict.
Okay,
Am
so
I?
that's the reason. Yeah, so that's the
Yes.
reason people get offended when they are
when they are told
Yes,
they are wrong?
because you are actually touching their value system and there is no clarification as to why they are behaving like that.
Okay. How to
Okay.
know that? By touching, by giving me the basic idea, I'm not getting the value system properly. Can you tell me what is the value system here?
Yeah, so when I say value system, these are some are inbuilt values that have come with me through my experience, through my parenting, through my situations and exposures. I have learned it like that. So என்னோட value system வந்து I must not rob. A simple example. திருடுறது தப்பு. Okay. But you find somebody who has robbed. Okay. So you're angry with him. But unless I clarify to you why he robbed, what was the reason he did it, right? Then your thought process about that person will change. Am I clear?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
So
Then,
these are, yeah.
putting this situation, like I get offended when people tell me I'm wrong. So
Yes.
if this situation comes, what is the
Yeah,
value
people are
system?
telling you you are wrong, then you need to go and recheck as to why you're saying wrong and why are they saying it correct. What
Okay,
is their
ma'am.
justification of saying correct and why are they pointing out my wrong?
Okay, and if I am very
அந்த
open
value
minded,
வந்து அந்த check point
am-
இருக்கணும்.
Ma'am,
and yeah,
Yes.
ma'am,
and
சொல்லுங்க.
ma'am.
Yes.
Pardon me.
Yes, yes, sir. Please tell me.
Yes, yes. You are really an amazing teacher. Actually, I'm waiting to see what are there in your other slides. So please, I'm really eager to learn from you. So it is already, I think, 6
Yeah,
and
we've crossed
25.
1 hour, right? Yeah, you're right, sir. You're right, sir. So we'll go ahead. Madam, can
Please,
we
please,
have a
please.
one-on-one? You can talk to me a little later. Can I finish my slides?
Yes, yes, yes. So why not?
sure,
Why
ma'am.
not?
Sure, ma'am.
Sure,
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll definitely help you out. You can definitely connect to me after the class.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Right? Okay, ma, fine. Okay. So this is what we are supposed to do. Basically, we are supposed to start with our I was wanting to tell you all about cognitive behavioral strategies. Yes. So during this cognitive behavioral strategies, I told you the first thing is basically we have to do cognitive reconstruction. Once the cognitive reconstruction is done, we do a value clarification, right? So once that value clarification is done, you talk about some relaxation techniques. If at all, you need some kind of relaxation techniques. See, there are all different therapists and different specialized people to do these kind of therapies. But as a student teacher relationship, I don't think we need to get into this relaxation techniques. You can just use few techniques of CBT to handle your children. Then the next part of it is encourages effective communication skills such as active listening and assertiveness. Okay, so let me talk to you all about active listening. Do you all know the meaning of the word active listening? Can I get it from you all? Can you tell me what it exactly means?
Ma'am, please place your screen in full screen mode, ma'am. Sorry, interrupting you.
Right, sir? Now is it visible?
Fine, madam. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So I'm asking about what is the meaning of active listening. Can anybody give me some examples?
Active participation, might be.
Focusing with the senses, avoiding
Yes.
distractions.
Yes. So basically, whenever you're doing an active listening, make sure you maintain eye-to-eye contact with that person, right? It's a lot about body language, which tells us that the person is actually listening to you. The gestures that you make, right? The gestures that you make, your posture, your eye-to-eye contact will tell us whether you are actively listening to that person or no. Even small signs like, yes, ama, okay. So all that actually signifies that you are actively listening, right? So when you do that, half of your problem is solved. When you hear the opposite person telling you their problem, when you do an active listening, 80% of the problem is solved, right? Because that's a very strong communication skill. And then being assertive in what you're saying. So whenever you're dealing with a conflict, your assertiveness to give the solutions is very, very important. When I say assertiveness, you must tell that person, yes, you should do it. You mustn't be like, ama, maybe you can do, or you can try. When you give them a mix of 2-3 solutions, you're not giving them a solution actually. You're giving them more problem. You're making their thought process more complicated. So when a person comes to you with a conflict, first of all, do an active listening, and what you feel right and where you think has gone wrong, please communicate to that person in a very assertive way. Assertive in Solumbodi, it's not about you shout and tell them, okay, in a shouting mode or voice or something like that. You have to be firm in what you're telling. You have to have clarity in what you're telling. Your thoughts have to be very clear in what you're communicating to them. So this actually helps in resolving conflict very soon. Is that clear? I mean, am I clear? Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So even with the students, with your with your students, this is what happens. You just need to listen to them. Most of the time, back home, again, I'm mentioning this, many parents don't have time for their children. They don't listen to what has happened. It may be a small incident, it may be a small game, it may be a small talk with the teacher, but the parents don't have the time to listen to the students. Yeah, it may be a small fight that they have had with their friends. They do want to come and tell you, but you must make time for it. And that, when you are listening to them, they expect you to listen actively. They expect you to listen actively, that is, show interest in what they are telling. So how can I show interest? By showing these kind of bodily gestures. I say a to them, I maintain an eye to eye contact with them. My posture is, I'm interested in you, I want to talk to you, I want to help you. That should be some of our body language, so which will help us in doing this conflict management. Then also, some of the steps that you need to know also is, first one is awareness of emotional triggers. Identify what emotions are being triggered and why. So if you take a student and a teacher concept of where you all are, it is very easy to identify the emotional triggers. Okay, in this teenage, we teenage, usually between 70 to 22, we call them as the teenage period, where most of the time their emotions are very high. The reason their emotions are very high is because of the hormonal influence that they have on their bodies. Right, I give this concept to every session that I take. This period of their adolescent period is called as the butterfly period. So butterfly period in relation with respect to the relationships that they make, in respect to the friendships that they make. There are lots of a butterfly concept, that is, they get triggered very quickly, and they move on also very quickly. So if you see a butterfly, does it sit on, how long does it sit on a flower? Am I audible? Are you all there?
Few minutes.
Minutes?
It's
I really
okay.
doubt, my dear.
Seconds.
Not
Yeah,
for too long.
I doubt. Yeah. So this is how an adolescent mind or this college going student's mind works. So we must actually encash on that, knowing that their emotions are very, very temporary, knowing that their thought process is very, very, very short driven. It's very short period. So understanding this, we should be able to understand why they are actually like that. And they can change every minute also. So this is how it's not their fault. Physiologically, it is because of these hormones, oxytocin and progesterone, which is produced in the body, which makes them like that. Okay, so we should train their minds to understand and tell them that these are your hormonal influences, but not encash and say that, because I'm going through these kind of changes and that's why I can behave like that. No, again, your mind plays a role there. So your mind needs to control, because mind is the control of all the organs in the body. So your mind actually controls. But in the adolescent age, there is a concept of mind and heart. Okay, I always say the mind and the brain always have a war. So the brain is actually the policeman, whereas the heart, is just not a policeman. And in these ages, what happens is the feelings take over their cognitive emotions, cognitive thinking. Okay, so as faculty, I want you to understand, whatever the child does or whatever the student does, it's because the feelings have taken over, because the hormones have taken over the cognitive abilities actually. Okay, so keeping this in mind, you need to channelize and bring them back and make the importance of their cognitive abilities. Yes, am I clear? Are you all able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
ma'am.
All right. Okay. So you can always use this concept of, being the brain, being the policeman. So usually, even in psychoanalytic theory, if you say ID, ego, and superego, ego is always called as the policeman, or the superego is called as a policeman. Yes. Do you refer to those kind of examples as psychologists? Yeah, it keeps a check on all our values. It keeps a check on all our thinking, all our, so that is what usually happens during this heart and mind function. So over the years, what happens is our body gets accustomed to these kind of physiological changes. And then again, your cognitive abilities take over your heart. Basically, the feelings, your cognitive abilities are taken over by your behavioral abilities. Right. Okay. The next step is cognitive reframing, which I have already mentioned to you, like challenge negative thoughts and reframe the situation positively. So this is what we're supposed to do. We need to reframe their conflict. Okay, so the conflict all happens because of their cognitive impairment. So again, when I say cognitive impairment, madam, it is the mental activity. So we need to reframe their mental activity. Why so the thinking like this has happened? Why so this kind of understanding has gone into it? So we need to reframe their cognitive thinking. And also use certain communication strategies. Like I said, it's active listening, and you try to pull out solution from all perspectives. Okay, so when you sit as a person to resolve a conflict, you need to understand what could be the solution in all aspects. Don't go unidirection. Don't keep on forcing on your solutions to them. You need to explore solutions. Very important. And also, you must learn to negotiate with them. That is collaborative problem solving, and show empathy towards them. When we say collaborative problem solving, it is me and the person who's going through the conflict sit down together. Not only I draw the solutions or I give him suggestions, some of the suggestions and solutions should come from the conflicting party also. Okay, so collaboratively, when you are trying to pull out solutions for that particular problem, it becomes easy for that person to choose a solution. Sorry. So most of the time, what happens is they give their own solution. You just have to give them a ear. Your active listening, like I said, would have sorted half the problem. Any of you have had this kind of experience anytime? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. No. Yes. We sit down
Not
for
like
a.
this, ma'am. But when a person or a friend wants to vent out, the first thing that comes to my mind, or the first thing that a person who would like to give a counseling should do, that listening. So I have
Yes.
listened to problems, because that's what they want when
Yes.
they
So
vent out or
venting out
something.
in Solumbodhu, this is venting out is expression of their feelings, ma. They don't want any solutions from you. I am talking about
Oh,
a
okay.
conflicting situation. A conflicting situation will come to you saying that, ma'am,
No,
he did
ma'am.
this to
I
me.
don't think we have underwent that collaborative
So
solution
when
making.
this is what I'm saying, there are two parties, in your college who have gone through a big, huge fight, and that one party comes to you and tells you, ma'am, this is what happened. What he did was wrong. This is how it is. This is how it is. So have you ever sat down with them to say, okay, what do you think they have done wrong, and what do you think they could have done better? What do you think? How could have you,
No,
kind of
ma'am.
how?
Lot
Yeah.
of time only gossips go on.
No, that's what I said. No, so venting is all about feelings, just to give them a feeling of, or madri satisfaction. Okay, I told somebody, I'm happy about it. No, I am not talking about that part of it. I am talking about you trying to solve a conflict along with the conflicting person. So you actually engage with them in problem solving. உங்களோட solutions நீங்க கொடுக்கவே தேவையில்லை. You will be questioning them in such a way, they tell the problem also, they will give you the solution also. Okay,
No,
so
ma'am. It does
yeah.
not happen.
So if at all you
We
get a
can try.
situation, if at all you get a situation like that, try to do these problem solving techniques and get the solutions from them, and only show empathy. So there is a very big line between sympathy and empathy. Can anybody tell me the difference between sympathy and empathy?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Sympathy means just agreeing to their feelings.
Yes.
Empathy means putting ourselves into their shoes and seeing.
Okay, when you put yourself into their shoes and also bring them out of that situation, that is empathy. You don't sit down and wean with them. You don't sit down and cry with them. So when you sit down to cry with them, that becomes sympathy. but you're trying to bring that person out of it and giving them a solution and trying to say that, yes, I acknowledge this has happened to you, but this is how you can come out. So that becomes empathy. Is that clear?
Okay, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So then also you must also start some behavioral interventions, develop constructive habits to replace negative behaviors. Seeing we are trying to develop constructive habits only to replace negative behaviors. Okay, negative behaviors in Solumbode, like I told you, because of your cognitive impairment, you are having a negative behavior. Impaired cognitive impairment leads to negative behavior. So my responsibility is to change your negative behavior by giving your mind some constructive habits. I'll give you an example. I know I was a little too fast in saying that. What I'm trying to say is, when you get angry, count 10. Yes, and that too, how you should count, ulta count panano. Start from 10, 9, 8, 7, whenever you get angry. Right? So that is a constructive habit. So basically, just to avoid that negative behavior, I need to give you some habits. Right? That's what it means. So whenever you know that you're going to get angry, okay, listen to music or go away from that situation. Or how do you handle it? So these are some of the solutions that I actually will be giving to you. So I'm only trying to change your negative behavior by giving you constructive habits, but I cannot change your cognitive abilities. Am I clear? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Right.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Now, this mediation is the last part of it. All this while we have been talking about mediation. So here it's a guided process where a neutral third party helps conflicting parties communicate and find a mutually agreeable solution. And they also facilitate communication, they manage emotions and also reach an agreement. So if a mediation in Pombodhu, the first thing that comes to our mind is about the court, which, yeah, right, court of law. People want to take a divorce, so they go to the court for mediation. Have you heard about it? Yeah, something that nowadays is pretty common, where, you know, the court, the lawyer calls you for mediation, the judge, whoever calls you for, the advocate calls you for a mediation, or the counselor calls you for a mediation, right? So mediation is basically a third party. That's how you teachers will be placed as a third party between two groups of students. So what is it that you have to do is, first of all, as a teacher, you need to understand the cognitive ability of your student. Okay, and guide them through a process. See, here it is very clearly written, mediation is a guided process. You cannot just keep talking and telling them, hey, you do this, you do that, it will get solved. No, it's not going to work like that. You need to have a proper CBT. When I say CBT, cognitive behavioral strategy. So that strategy has few steps. So you need to follow those few steps and get those conflicting parties to agree mutually and find a solution. Okay, so
how to find our cognitive ability, ma'am?
Because you know your students, my dear girl, and you know in what age group they are in. You know what is the physiological bodily changes that they are going through. You exactly know what is the college situation that they are going through. You know, you may understand it very quickly, because it may be, you know, it may be a relationship concept. It may be the same girl dating with 3-4 boys, and all of them are fighting with each other. Does that happen? You know, because some of the,
I think not.
it doesn't happen. All right. No, because here in Bangalore, you know, it's quite common, these kind of things. And, you know, and the groups are fighting for one single girl there, and they come out and say, madam, she is doing this, madam, she is doing that. You know, I have a lot of those kind of relationship issues that I'm dealing with. Or it's about substance abuse, you know, even their drinking habits, their smoking habits. With all that, they create a fight. You know, there are lots of these teenage issues which actually come up. Okay, and I'm trying to guide them and tell them both the parties were wrong. Actually, in the age, if you see, both the parties will be wrong. The reason why they're having a conflict has no meaning. So we need to guide them through that process. But we cannot tell them and say, you know, what you're talking is real rubbish, get away. No, for them, it is something very big, and they have come to you for a solution thinking that you are much more mature than them. So you must try to bring out solutions. So when I say you must try to bring out, like I told you the first time itself, they themselves will give you the solution. So you have to collaborate, list down the solutions of the first party, list down the solutions of the second party, then collaboratively you only intervene and try to make them mutually agree based on their points. Yeah, the first two
Yes,
points
ma'am.
may be really contradicting with each other. Maybe the first two வந்து ஒத்துக்கவே மாட்டாங்க. No, no, no அப்படின்னு வருவாங்க. But when it comes to the third and fourth point, somewhere slowly they will try to agree. So you have to catch hold on that point as a mediator and try to push that forward and get a solution for them. So you basically facilitate. That's why I'm telling you here, you only facilitate their communication and you manage their emotions. Okay, once the emotions are managed well and they start to communicate well, they themselves will find a solution and they will be best of friends. They will forget you what you have mediated also. You know, things can happen that way. So when you as a mentor, when you as a counselor, you know, you're sitting there for mediation, you need to listen actively to both the parties, take the solution from both the parties and start from the one where there is at least 10% of mutual agreement. Okay, where you think that point somewhere they are actually trying to agree upon, you need to stress on that point and bring that point up. So that is where you stand as a mediator. Right? Am I clear? Am I
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So how does the mediation process happen? Basically, you establish a safe environment. Okay. So you make sure the place where you're sitting is not too noisy. You have a separate room. There is privacy because definitely they want to maintain confidentiality. And you should also be a teacher of confidentiality. You must never share your students' information, even with your colleagues, unless it is needed for some, you know, some, what do you say? So for some academic purpose. If the student has shared something with you, and I think as psychologists and as psychological faculty, we must be able to maintain that confidentiality with our students' information, right? Okay, so you establish a safe environment, you open a dialogue with them. It becomes very difficult for them to open up and speak. They don't want to talk. So you can be the one who starts the dialogue and you can tell them to start the conversation. Make an honest and open communication. Okay, you can tell them, yes, I heard, I know you were wrong. Enna nadanduchu? Please tell me, explain to me what has happened. Give me an honest opinion, or give me an honest feedback, or give me honestly what has happened over there. Abdin solite, you have to initiate the communication. Otherwise, they will not tell you. So as they speak honestly, you will be able to
Ma'am, I have a
understand.
doubt here. Ma'am,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
as I'm a mentor, can I go up to his personal boundary if I am not a counselor, if I am not a psychologist? Like
Provided
that?
he is alone, provided he has the confidence in you. See, mentor and solumbodhu, what happens, sir? You are writing a report about my student. Okay, you are sharing little information about him, and sometimes you can be judgmental. So you should be a teacher who is not judgmental when you touch his personal domain.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
As a student, இப்போ நீங்க அவனை நல்லவன் நினைச்சிருப்பீங்க, அவன் சொல்ற சங்கதியம் கேட்டுட்டு ஐயோ இவன் இந்த மாதிரி அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு, in your behavior and your action in the coming days, you should not become judgmental about him.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So why we tell teachers not to do this is you're not trained for it. But a counselor is exclusively trained for these kind of things. They don't have biases. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you have the ability to deal it well and say that I will not judge my student for the next 3 years, I can help him with his personal issues and sollumbodhu, you can dig into it, sir.
Otherwise, I will transfer to the counselor.
Yes, you please address him and you direct him to the counselor.
Yes.
Yeah, because you don't not only deal with him, you deal with the people who also deal with him. You deal with his friends, you deal with his teachers, you deal with everybody. So sometimes at some point of time, you can become judgmental.
Thank you, madam.
So, and your judgment vande enna aidona, it will have an impact on other teachers also. So what happens is, if my mentor, ayo mentore abdi solranga inda paiyan ipdi da abdine, they will also judge him. Right, sir? Are you able to understand what I'm trying to
Yes,
say?
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank
right. Okay, sir. So that's how it happens. So once they start an open communication with you, you will be able to understand their psychological needs or concerns. In the sense, you will understand what is their issues. So once their issues are understood, that's where you start your negotiation and your problem solving. Issues solla, ultimately they themselves will talk to you about their solutions also. So on the solution, no ma'am, he should not have done like that. I think he should have done this. I think he should have done this under the vanda ninga mind la pottu, you must write it down, make a note of what he's telling. So that is a solution for you actually. But if you think both the parties are not giving you proper solutions and you think you have a better idea, you think for that situation you will be able to help them much better in Solumbodhu, you can also give your honest feedback. But always as counselors and as teachers, don't expect that they will take whatever you say. Let me tell you that. And then be disappointed. Because some of them may not like the solution that you take. Since you are their teacher or your mentor, they may agree to you on that table, move away from you, but not fully agreeing to what you are saying. Okay, so you must also have an open, an open-mindedness to understand that all your solutions may not be acceptable to the conflicting people who are with you. Okay, but if they are able to really understand, see, again, as you talk to them, you will know their level of the emotions that they are actually showing to you. You will, in their facial expressions and body language, you will be able to understand whether they are really complying to what you are telling them, whether they are really taking your solutions. You will be able to analyze them. So based on that, you need to make your solutions, you need to give your suggestions. Yes, and then it will be closure and follow up where their emotions are actually stabilized now. Both of them go out saying that, okay, we've come to a consensus, right? Okay, let's forget what conflict has happened. So this is how usually the mediation process as a third person should start off. And also some of the techniques which we have already mentioned: active listening, empathy, neutrality. So remaining impartial is very, very important in the situation. Maybe because you like one party and you don't like the other party, you're being judgmental and so little, you are always taking the side of the party that you like. So then the second party will not like you and you are going to be a very impartial mentor. You're going to be a very partial counselor, which nobody will like. And they will never come back to you again for any resolution. Right? And then you help parties view the conflict in different perspectives. So you reframe it. So as a counselor, this is what you're going to do. Or as a mentor, this is what you will be doing. You will reframe their problems in a different way and try to get solutions out of them. Also, you should also use some of the calming techniques, okay, basically to understand their emotional intensity. So, they may come with you with great anger, with, weapons in their hands and all that, but slowly you should be able to calm them down. Okay, these are some of the biggest challenges that a counselor can face. The emotional intensity need not always be physical. What I'm trying to say is an emotional intensity can be anger that I don't talk to that person for my lifetime. No, there are sayings. It's like, once if I'm angry with the person in my lifetime, I will not speak to that person. There are people like that. They do carry grudges all their life. So you should use some of the calming techniques and tell them it's going to harm themselves. So it's not about harming the conflicting person, but it is going to harm your own morale. It is going to harm your own self. It's going to have a lot of impact on your lifestyle. So you should use some of the calming techniques and also address the biases that may hinder resolution by fostering self-awareness. So here, actually, if you see in schools, we do some 10 life skills. So out of the 10 life skills, self-awareness is one important thing, okay, that we teach them. So what exactly we teach here is, first of all, we try to ask them to analyze themselves and ask them to write a list of their strengths and their weaknesses. We make them only do it, to ask them what are their basic strengths and what are their basic weaknesses. It's like a SWOT analysis that we kind of do. And also we also give them an identity concept. Ippodhukku their identity concept will be like, I am somebody's son, I am so-and-so's brother, I am so-and-so's sister, I am so-and-so student of this particular college. So Sonda identity, when they develop, we give them that self-awareness. So we give them awareness about some of the wrong biases that they have regarding their cognitive abilities. So we need to kind of keep on constantly counseling them and trying to build a good cognitive ability into the child, because already they have come to you with some value system in their mind, and now here we are trying to slowly change their value system based on the need of the child. And also there will always be resistance to change. Okay, it's not only in person. Ninga endha edathukku ponalum, any change you want to make, there is always resistance. So but you must always, initially your conflicting person will resist to you and tell, no sir, that's not the thing. But slowly you need to encourage that openness in him, and you need to give them new ideas and solutions, whether they like it or not, whether they resist or not. It's our duty to give them the solutions. It's our duty to make them understand some new ideas that they can think in a different way, right? Okay. And anyway, so some of the benefits that happens is, once you do a conflict resolution for the person, they have good improved mental health and emotional resilience, and relationships become stronger, and the connections and the trust also builds, right? And if you take it in an organization, when you have a good collaboration, there is enhanced collaboration, reduced stress, supportive work environment, and teams can resolve their problems, and they have good job satisfaction. Okay, so I just want to give you all 4 C's. Okay, I don't look at my last slide. I just want to give you all 4 C's for conflict resolution. You can write it down. Connect regularly, the first C. The second C is communicate openly. The third C is collaborate effectively. The fourth C is correct the confusion. So these 4 C's, if you follow, that is connect regularly. So having a connect with people regularly, solves a lot of issues. Then and there it can be sorted out. The next one is you communicate openly. So my sincere request is, whenever you think you're getting into a conflicting mood, it is better to have an open communication with the other party. So kindly have an open communication, but also the clause is trying to understand in what situation your opposite party is, trying to understand what are his emotions. You have to use your maturity and your experience to assess the opposite party, and then try to communicate openly, and also collaborate effectively. Try to find solutions together and work towards that solution, and also correct the confusion. Whatever your thought process was, when you know you were confused, when you know you were wrong, try to correct it. Okay, so these are the 4 C's that I want to give you all. And I think I've come to the end of my session. Bala sir,
Excuse me.
the forum is open. Any
Hello?
questions? Yes.
I'm saying it once again, ma'am. 4 C's.
Okay, the first C is connect regularly.
Ma'am.
The second C is communicate openly.
Yes, ma'am.
The third C is collaborate effectively.
Yes, ma'am.
And the fourth C is correct the confusion.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Right. Any questions? Any questions? Now we can have an open dialogue. Any questions? If I know, I'll definitely help you all. I will try to answer the questions.
Ma'am, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Yes.
Ma'am, today's generation are highly egoistic, no, ma'am. So how
Yes.
do you handle such students? Because whenever we come for a communication or something like that, they wanted to emphasize, that is correct. So we find it so difficult to, to go beyond that. So at a state we have to be, silent over there. You cannot touch the ego.
No, you don't need to be silent, madam. You need to communicate very openly to them and make them understand that this ego or their behavior. See, the first time itself, when you start rejecting them, when you say a no to them, they don't like it. Your opening statement should never be a no to teenagers. No, what you have done is wrong. No, they don't like it.
Okay.
So if your opening statement is going to be a negative statement, you will not be able to have the hold on those students. So if you're doing it, kindly change the statement, reframe the statement. Never say the word no to them.
How should I approach now? How should I approach now?
So if I give you a situation as to say that, they say, ma'am, no, this is not the right way of doing it. You must be able to tell them what are the other ways. Don't say, no, this is only the way to do it. You are wrong. No, ma'am, I will not accept it. Because this generation will not accept it. So you need to mend ways with them. You can ask him, okay, if you feel that way, what do you think I could have done? Do you think we can do it this way better? Will that help you? I'm here only to help you to finish your assignment or complete your assignment. What was the reason? What went wrong? Why do you say no?
Okay.
Right, ma'am? Because I know it takes a lot of practice to do this. You handle thousands of students, and every student you cannot be so patient. I do agree it comes with practice, but then this generation students don't like the word no when it comes from their teacher. They want to be accepted. They want to be
But
appreciated
at
for
times we
every.
have to be assertive, no, ma'am. For example, if they are wrong on their part, we have to say no to that, no, ma'am. So you cannot go and say an compromising word over there.
No, you're not compromising, madam. I don't want you to compromise with them. I want you to be assertive, but the way you reframe your answer needs to be different.
Okay.
You should not compromise. Please don't compromise. You stick to what you want to say, but the way you say it matters a lot, madam. So don't open your sentence with a negative comment.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. The negative comment will put them off the first minute itself. So you need to reframe the sentence in a different way and be assertive in what you're telling.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Ma'am, I have a question.
what happens between stimulus and response, ma'am?
Yes.
What happens in between that?
Between the stimulus and the response?
Yeah, there is a space, right? When we are stimulated and when we are responding.
So that is
Can you
your nerve.
explain that?
That is basically the physiological nerve impulse that takes time for the stimulus to act as a response. Right? Your whatever was your stimulus earlier, your response is going to be based on that. Can I get to see all of you on the screen? That's very nice. Yeah. So I was talking to so many people, I couldn't see any of you. That's really
Ma'am, I
nice.
have a question, ma'am.
Yes, dear, please go ahead.
I wanted to ask, ma'am, it's not related to students,
Alright.
but I think I find this in people in general. I
Okay.
think, ma'am, that superiority complex is a kind of inferiority complex. Somebody who has a lot of inferiority inside, tries to just compensate it by acting superior. So if conflict resolution has to take place with such kind of a person, and if that person is an adult person, say, for example, a peer, who's going to make them aware about the inferiorities that other people can probably perceive, but they can never?
They would have already perceived, my dear. You don't need to tell them. They don't acknowledge it. Okay, they don't acknowledge it. I know what are my weaknesses. I know where I am going wrong, but I don't want to acknowledge in front of you. It's as simple as that. So you don't need to give them any awareness about their inferiority complex. They
No,
try
ma'am,
to
but
hide.
then just yes, ma'am. But then when you have to work with such kind of people and they constantly show this kind of behavior, it becomes a headache now to work in a team with
No,
these
see,
people.
if that you show it in your work capacity. When you do good work and also involve them, not as a, what do you say, not as an opponent, or not saying that they don't know only, but still they act too much. It's okay. You show your, what do you say? What word to show, use there? You show your calmness, you show your sound mind, you show your knowledge in such a way that, when you talk to them, they don't feel that with you. It's all about your communication with them, basically. They will understand. If you are all the time looking at him and saying that, he has such a superior, but but he tries to, if in that kind of an attitude, if you are going to talk to him, he can sense your body language. But if you are going to be a genuine person wanting to help him to come out of it, you want to give him solutions, and in your workplace you want to suggest ideas, you can go ahead doing with him. One day he will acknowledge that to you. And even if he doesn't acknowledge, on his mind, you will be on the good books.
Ma'am, doesn't the situation turn a little negative that way? I mean, such a person who is who knows the inferiorities in him or
Yes.
her, but shows that superiority, and you try to work genuinely, and you give such ideas which work
No,
with them.
one time he may turn negative, two time he may turn negative. That's of how you react to him, how you communicate, how you respond to it. It's basically about your reactions to him or your response to him.
But sometimes it becomes discouraging as well. I mean, for the genuine person, it
That's
is
what I
also
said. So the opposite person should have a very mature behavior, because see, I feel you all are mature enough and telling me you know that he has an inferiority complex. So knowing the person is like that, how should we deal with him? And we should not get offended with his behavior because we know his personality is like that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Right.
Ma'am, having
I
heard your
have a
session,
question.
ma'am, I would like to ask you, ma'am, do you believe that there should be something like zero-sum game? I mean, even if it is situational, do you think that today's session is a complete paradox to it? But at workplace, we often witness these things. So do you
Yes.
think that zero-sum game is sometimes the solution to these people?
I wouldn't actually agree to that. You know, in our work
Okay, ma'am.
environment, we cannot do that. We should not be doing that because it makes the whole environment very hostile. I don't think so.
Okay, ma'am.
Right?
Ma'am,
Okay.
what is that zero sum? I don't get it.
Madam, can you explain to her?
Yes, ma'am. Zero sum game is when I'm such kind of person who would like to make you believe and accept the fact that I won and you lose, and you better accept that.
Oh, okay. I
You
get it.
shouldn't be doing that. You should never do that in a work environment, because all of us there are professionals. All of us come from a good, you know, each of us have our own strengths and weaknesses. And I don't think anybody can win or lose. Okay. Maybe you have an extra strength where you have been put as a professor or you have been the HOD of somewhere, knowing some of your leadership qualities. So we acknowledge that you are a leader, but that doesn't mean you win and I lose. Okay. There may be areas that I am strong enough and you cannot do it. Like the way I do, maybe you cannot do even sitting there as a leader. So we must never have that feeling of, you know, that I win and you lose. No, I don't think that creates a lot of hostility among us. That should not happen.
So thank you very much. Congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Though it is an online program, it looked as though it was an offline presentation. Lot of interactions and participants, they responded so well and they were very active during the presentation. And I felt that you spoke from your experiences and you spoke from your heart, though you had a lot of slides in front of you, but then you spoke from your experiences, you spoke out of from your heart, like from the feedbacks that I'm getting from the chat boxes. It was a wonderful session. Yeah, hope we had more time. Maybe in the beginning we spent a little more time for interactions. Uh,
Yes.
Otherwise,
I
it was
have one
very,
more
very well.
question, ma'am.
Yes.
I have one more
Is
question.
it the same person? We'll give chance to others. Shama, Shama want to ask something?
Yeah, I want to ask something, sir.
Yeah, Shama, you want to ask something? Go ahead.
No, I'm not Shama, it is Jumana.
We'll give a chance to other people,
Okay.
the participants. Yeah,
I will wait.
yeah, please, yeah.
I hope my session was useful somewhere. All of you all are, you know, faculty, and I really don't know if I met up to your expectation. But with the little experience that I have been able to give you all my, you know, my little input regarding conflict management. So we were wondering what topic to discuss and what to, you know, what exactly sir wanted me to speak. Bala sir, I'm so sorry. Many a times I haven't responded to your messages because you kept asking me lots of times. You know, the busy schedule, I wasn't able to actually connect to you. I'm extremely sorry if I have not
No problem,
responded
no problem.
immediately.
Yes, yes. Connected well, not a problem at all.
Yeah.
It went on very well. In fact, this is one of the topics that is very much needed, I thought, because in most places, not only in our families but in the workplaces, we fail to develop strategies to resolve our conflict situations. Like
Yes, sir.
so, therefore, this is one of the significant and relevant topics that is required for not only for psychologists and counselors, but also for everybody.
Everybody, yes. Definitely, sir. So I thank Bala sir and St. Joseph's Trichy College for giving me this wonderful opportunity to meet such, fantabulous people, and I'm so excited, and I'm really happy that I have done this, sir. I hope I get a certificate, sir, that I have taken
Sure.
a session in your
Yeah,
esteemed
you will get your
institution.
yeah, sure.
That adds to my profile. I mean, it's an honor for me to have that
Okay.
certificate. So I'm extremely grateful for giving
In
me.
fact, the participants are from 23 states, and there are participants from 4 foreign countries.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So
Right. I'm so honored. I'm really honored.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this privilege. It was a very
We have people from conflict zone, ma'am.
okay. Conflicting zones. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
from Palestine we have.
Okay.
Very well done. Over to MC.
Thank you, Ms. Joyce Meshach, for delivering such an insightful and engaging session on conflict resolution and mediation. The way you explained the psychological impact of conflict, steps involved in it, and the techniques are highly informative, ma'am. We are deeply appreciative of the knowledge you have shared. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. John Balaya, our IFDP coordinator. A special thank you to Dr. A. Vimal Gerald, Dr. Bastin Tyagaraja, and Mr. Palani and Mr. Velangani for their technical assistance. And to all our participants, a heartfelt thank you for your active interaction and engagement. Your interactions have greatly enriched our discussions and made the session truly memorable. Thank you all for being such an integral part of this experience.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much,
So
Varshini.
that was Varshini, the second PG student of MSc Counseling Psychology.
Okay. You did a great job. Thank you, Varshini. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, all faculty. Please keep me and my family in your prayers. Hope to have more sessions like this. Thank you all so much,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.